Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the Aries forecast for July 2026. Now, if you've been keeping an eye on the astrological landscape lately, you already know that July is packing some seriously heavy shifts. But just to be clear right up front, our goal with this explainer isn't to look into some magical crystal ball or hand you a bunch of fatalistic predictions about what's going to happen to you. Not at all. Instead, we're looking at the foundational energy map of this month. We want to focus on practical strategies, grounded advice, and really just giving you the tools to navigate this energy optimally. So we're going to look closely at the data and break down a month that is honestly intense, incredibly clarifying, and ultimately transformative.
So here's how we've organized the month to make it easy to follow. We're splitting it into 4 distinct chronological periods. First up, we've got lightning in the 3rd house for the first week. Then we'll move into clarity looking backward from mid-month. After that, we'll tackle the intense 3 forces 1 day in the 3rd week. And finally, we'll wrap things up with spotlights and silence at the very end of July. All right, let's jump right into part 1, lightning in the 3rd house, covering July 1st through the 7th. Right out of the gate, the month starts with this intense friction between your past obligations and an explosive, almost urgent need for new communication. We're zeroing in on 2 major milestones here. First, on July 4th, we have what the forecast calls lightning in the throat, which is basically an absolute explosion of rebellious communication. And then, just a few days later, on July 7th, Neptune goes retrograde, triggering a really sharp, intuitive revision of your illusions. To put that 4th of July energy into perspective, Mars and Uranus are literally meeting up in your 3rd house. This creates a massive release of energy in how you communicate and how you physically move. It's kind of like someone suddenly yanking the handbrake on the highway of your mind, and all the vehicles just start sliding sideways. You're going to feel this overwhelming urge to break free from any limitations in how you speak or think. You might even blurt out things you simply cannot take back. But here is the absolutely crucial part. Because you are moving and thinking so fast right now, the source material explicitly warns about physical risk. Seriously, avoid aggressive driving, put away the sharp tools, and, maybe leave that DIY home renovation project for next month. You're just moving way faster than you're looking. The forecast actually captures the essence of this chaotic first week with a really striking concept. I want you to really hear this. There's a kind of honesty that only comes when you drop your phone in the water. Whatever stays in your head after, that was what mattered. The disruptions you experience this week aren't just random noise, right? They're specifically designed to strip away the distractions and reveal your most essential truths. So, how does this actually play out in your daily life? Well, at work, July 4th is a great day for new, innovative beginnings, but only if they are solo moves. You need to set your boundaries directly. In your love life, that Mars-Uranus energy brings some pretty dangerous honesty. You might finally articulate something you've been holding back for months, but please, watch your tact. Uranus does not forgive clumsiness. And for health, like we mentioned, extreme caution with your physical body is required, while the 7th asks you to accept your psychological reality exactly as it is, not as you wish it might be. Okay, moving on to our second phase, clarity looking backward. This covers July 8th through the 15th. So all that intense external energy from the first week, it suddenly turns inward. Mid-month is really defined by July 13th and 14th. We see this powerful moment of reflection on the 13th, followed immediately by planting a new seed in your home's foundation on the 14th under the new moon in Cancer. But keep in mind, because Mercury is still retrograde during this window, everything is deeply, deeply focused on the past. Let's talk about the 13th for a second. The Sun and Mercury align in what astrologers call a kazimi. Now, usually, a kazimi is this brilliant flash of forward-looking insight. But right now, Mercury is moving backward. So, the key takeaway here is that you're being handed a moment of absolute mental clarity, but it's directed entirely at resolving the past. This is definitely not the time to force new beginnings. It's the time to apply incredibly sharp, practical thinking to your family, your home, and all those conversations you left unfinished back in June. Applying this practically across the board. For work and finances, use this retrospective clarity to finish old family documents or contracts. Do not start new ones yet, just wrap up the old stuff. In your love life, Venus moves into your 6th house, which means passion kind of steps aside for practicality. True love right now is found in the small daily gestures. Who cooks, who cleans, who calls when they're running late. And health-wise, this is actually the absolute best period of the entire month for establishing strict routines. Your discipline regarding diet and exercise is highly supported right now, so take advantage of it. That brings us to section 3, 3 forces, 1 day. This spans July 16th through the 22nd.
This period is fascinating because it builds from deep physical frustration into this incredible concentration of power. On July 19th, you're going to hit a wall, a literal physical wall. The tension will be palpable. But then, just 24 hours later, on July 20th, that tension erupts into a massive surge of creativity and a pretty serious power struggle. Let's really dissect July 20th because 3 totally distinct forces activate on this single day. First, Jupiter trines Neptune, which wakes up a highly idealistic, creative side of you. You might cross paths with someone who acts as a mentor or guide, but be super careful not to put them on a pedestal. Second, you're facing an opposition with Pluto. This is basically the culmination of a long quest for power, where a community might actually oppose your vision. The warning from the source here is crystal clear. Avoid the obsessive urge to control others instead of genuinely connecting with them. And third, you're going to get this sudden flash of mental excitement, allowing you to solve incredibly hard problems from completely fresh perspectives. So what does this mean on a practical level? At work, the 19th demands highly disciplined, precise communication. Your words carry serious weight right now, so use them carefully and actively avoid arrogance when those creative surges hit on the 20th. In love, you've got to ask yourself a tough question. Are you loving the actual person in front of you or just the image they reflect back to you? And for your health, this week is physically taxing. That frustration we talked about on the 19th, it manifests as exhaustion and potentially even joint or jaw pain. The remedy here is completely non-negotiable. You must rest. Do not try to push through this. Finally, we enter the last stretch of the month, spotlights and silence. This covers July 23rd to the 31st. This final week builds toward a highly visible climax. It is incredibly dense with major astrological shifts. On the 23rd, Mercury finally goes direct, giving you a massive green light. Then, on the 26th, Saturn retrogrades, triggering some intense internal review. The 27th brings a true paradigm shift, where old models of living just flat out stop working for you. And it all culminates on July 29th with this incredible mix of absolute triumph and, well, necessary social cleaning. When Saturn retrogrades in your first house on the 26th, your entire relationship with self-discipline comes under the microscope. The text leaves us with a pretty heavy philosophical truth to reflect on here. Discipline that does not serve life serves only itself, and that is a kind of prison. You're being asked to really examine the obligations you've forced upon yourself. Where does your healthy discipline cross the line into useless, draining self-punishment? It's a vital question to ask yourself this week. And you can see how all of this builds into the grand climax on July 29th. It's a night of intense contrasts. On one hand, the Sun and Jupiter meet, bringing an extraordinary physical peak. You are going to feel optimistic, expansive, and you'll rightfully find yourself in the spotlight. Honestly, it's one of the best transits for visibility and creativity. But on that exact same night, a full moon in Aquarius illuminates your social circles, and it acts like a surgical tool. While you're at your absolute peak, the light exposes exactly which connections actually support you and which ones are just holding you back. The advice for this night of triumph and cleaning is unapologetically clear. A friend who cannot handle your success was never a friend. Boom, right? This is the exact moment to let go of any relationships that drain your energy or secretly resent your growth. Let's summarize this powerful final week practically. In work, from the 23rd onward, you finally have the green light. Sign the papers, make the calls, launch the projects you've been delaying since June. By the 29th, expect major visibility and expansion. In love, expect to navigate some emotional heaviness and isolation around the 26th, but by that full moon, the bonds that survive the truth, they will be clear and they will be lasting. And health-wise, you're moving from somatic stress and elevated cortisol midweek straight into the absolute physical peak of the summer by the 29th. Your body is going to crave movement and light. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question drawn directly from the core themes we've covered today. As you navigate the explosive communication early on, the backward-looking clarity mid-month, and that massive spotlight at the end of July, ask yourself this: are you building your future, or are you just maintaining the walls of a prison you built yourself? The energy this month gives you every single tool you need to break those walls down once and for all. Use it wisely. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.